Hey, everybody. Welcome. I am so excited for today. We're going to get real about self-limiting beliefs. So it's been really fun because last week and this week, both, I've invited a member of my team to come and join us. Sorry, I'm like turning off all my notifications. Invited a member of my team to come on, and it's been so cool because you guys have just welcomed them. And we've had some really neat discussions. And so I'm super excited to bring on one of my favorite savvies, Chachi. Chachi is our sales and tech director, and I'm going to let him introduce yourself, but this is going to be a really awesome conversation, and we're just going to talk about a little bit more mindset stuff. This is what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, and I know for me, I have big goals. I have a lot of practical, like, what do I do? What do I set my prices? What do I market? All of those questions. I know that I had those a lot, but the biggest thing that held me back or had the potential to hold me back if I didn't cross over those hurdles was my mindset. And that's why we've just spent the last couple of weeks digging into this, and that's what we're going to do today. So first off, let's go ahead and just say hi to Chachi. Chachi, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody where you're from, what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Chachi. It's not my real name. I don't even know if I mentioned that. My real name is Guadalupe, but it's really my dad's name. That's a whole other crazy story about my mom giving birth and my dad just like ransoming my name, and that was not my name. Was supposed to be Keith or Kevin, but it didn't work out that way. So my name is Guadalupe, but my family called me Muchachito growing up. It means little boy in Spanish. Ay, Muchachito. I guess I was a bad kid. I don't know. So they just shortened it to Chachi, and that's how my name is Chachi.
I never knew that story.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
Out when you go live.
Yeah, crazy story. But I'm the sales and tech director here. I love doing all the stuff on the back end. The lives and all that stuff is fun to do every now and then, but I'm very much kind of in the background sort of thing. Just making sure everything works and making sure that students can get their things. And my background is in ministry. Actually, I was a full-time youth minister for about 10 years. But ministry is like full-time work, part-time pay sort of thing.
Yeah.
So for
we've done that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful life, rewarding life, full life. But I just always needed something that was mine and something that I could just bring in some income with. And so I was a web designer for 10 years. And then kind of for the last couple, I've been doing sales funnels and all that good stuff. And then that's when I kind of ran into you. Figured out that I was a tech VA, didn't know that, but I was a tech VA. And as soon as I started marketing myself as that's when the clients started, like, they knew what I did and I knew what they wanted. So it was a very interesting dynamic. And then I landed it here because you guys were hiring for my dream job, and I've been living the dream ever since. That's who I am. That's what I do.
Awesome. And fun fact, guys, today is Chachi's birthday. So I think that we should publicly sing him happy birthday. Ready?
Wow. Really?
I need to see the hat, though. His wife. His wife gave him a hat.
She gave me a birthday hat. I don't know if she's watching.
We have to embarrass you on camera. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chachi. Happy birthday to you. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Hey.
That was almost as good as Rob's this morning.
Did he? My husband likes
quite
to
the
call.
rendition.
Yeah, my husband likes to call people on their birthdays and do like it's like it starts off as like a sexy Marilyn Monroe.
I mean, it was a lot of things.
And then it usually goes into like a high-pitched screaming at the end.
Most definitely. Yeah, it was there. Yeah, it was all the things.
It's a lot. Okay.
Yeah, but you can't take me seriously with this. I need to be professional and put together.
All right. Well, happy birthday. Thank you for joining. We actually give everyone off on their birthday, and we realized we're like, wait a second, Chachi, it's your birthday when you're doing the live. And so he's going to do the live with us and then go hang out with his fam. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's just dive in because, we're talking about self-limiting beliefs. We have both been down the freelancer road, virtual assistant road, and we know how scary it can be to go down that road and to really to self-promote yourself, whether it's telling your friends and family about your business, whether it's just choosing your services and having enough confidence that you can even call yourself a web designer or a tech VA or whatever it may be. So let's just go through kind of your journey and, even before we get to some of the questions. We'll start with this one. Kind of, what is your journey? What was your road? What did it look like? And what were some of those hurdles that you faced in the beginning when you were first starting out in your business?
Yeah. So there's, so you put it on me, but I have to go back to something that you said in the very, very beginning. And that's really going to set the foundation for what we're talking about today. Is you said, and I'll bring it back to me here in a second, but you said that your mindset was one of the biggest things that you had to get over. The pricing, all that stuff, people can teach you that, right? But it's the self-limiting beliefs that is the thing that you yourself are going to have to make a decision on to move forward. Yeah. And it's not like at the end of this live, you're not going to leave here with like, oh, I'm done with self-limiting beliefs. I don't have any more. Like, it's just not possible, right? We all have them for whatever reason. We just have them. But what was so important is that you made the decision to get over it, right? And when we make that decision, the reason why this is so incredibly important is because what would happen if you would have never gotten past that, right? I wouldn't be here. I mean, I would exist, obviously, because that was independent of your decision.
Side twist, I saved Chachi's life.
You saved my life. Existential crisis.
Hey, weird side note. I really did. We were at the pool. We went to there's this like gym that has a pool that doesn't have very many people in it. So we were like, we should go to the pool the other day. And we were in there and there was a little girl, and literally the whistle blew and I turned around and there was this little girl like drowning beside me. And it was only like 5 foot of water. So I was just like, I just picked her up, but I saved a child.
You're a hero.
It was like,
wow.
It was really anticlimactic. So I was like, they're like, you saved her. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I really just picked her up out of 5 feet of water.
Wow. Plot twist. I did not expect that to go this direction, but I'm glad it did.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Interrupting.
Just as you saved that girl's life, you equally saved mine, right? Like I wouldn't be in this position without you saying yes, right? Melissa would not have been hired. Rob would have not have retired from his job, right? Katie would not be where Katie's at, and the rest of the team would not be where they're at. And then the 3,000 students that have gone through the Savvy system would not be where they're at. They wouldn't be having their 2K, 3K, 10K months and $100,000 years. The Savvy Vault wouldn't exist. So all of these different things have become a part of people's lives because at one point you decided my self-limiting beliefs were no longer going to limit me. Right. And when you look at it in that way, it's less about self-sabotage as it is about like you don't want to be an obstruction to the potential of what could be. And when you look at it that way, self-limiting beliefs are just that. It's just a belief. It doesn't have to be fact or dictate your life. So I think that's a really, really important distinction.
Yeah. I feel like this is huge because I feel like you just turned this on its head in a way that I hadn't really even thought through. Like the reason you have self-limiting beliefs is because you're focusing on yourself and that's okay. Like, I mean, like we said, it's okay to have fears and it's okay to have those things. But if you take that attention that you're putting on yourself and you turn it of like, how could I help the world? Like if
100%.
Your vision involves other people, which like I hope that yours does. Like I think that all of you guys have a why that is probably extends just beyond just yourself, right? Like it could extend to your family or your friends or people that you eventually want to help, or even like a charitable organization that you want to donate more to or whatever. Like if your why is bigger than yourself, then that kind of gives you a reason to get out. It's like, well, I have to get over my limiting beliefs because people are counting for me me to make this thing happen. That's good.
Yeah, it's super important. You just have to think of the things that you're doing. And the reason why self-beliefs, I mentioned that at the end of this live, we're not going to get rid of limiting self-beliefs for everybody in their life. That's not what the purpose of this is. Because the self-limiting beliefs are there because the fear is real, right? Yeah. And it's usually because you're on the precipice of something really great. Yeah. The precipice of something that's going to be really impactful for people. So that self-limiting belief is an indicator that you're in the right direction.
That's really good.
So that's a really important, before we talk about anything else, we should both figure out those things, lay the foundation for what this conversation is about. It's about moving past those for the sake of something greater. I think that's important.
So good. Okay. So what was that self-limiting belief for you?
I think at the beginning of any sort of business and any sort of, I mean, because I was doing in my business, it was easy because I had to, right? Like there was no way that me and Emily were going to be able to survive on my income as a youth minister. So I had to do something different. And that really helped. Doing graphic design and web design for companies was super.
Well, again, you had a bigger why. You were,
super why. Yeah.
There's somebody else in your life too.
Absolutely. So, yeah. It was either that or I worked at McDonald's and that's cool. I could have done that, but I had to try this first.
Yeah.
And so when you step over that threshold of I can't to I can and I will because I have to, whatever your why is, the doors of that are exponential. So even 10 years later, let's say that I want to do an upgrade on a house. It was because of the decision that I made 10 years before that I know that I can make money doing freelance work because of what I did 10 years earlier. And so it's an exponential growth as soon as you go into that, step over that threshold.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had, like, what were some of the things that ran through your head that made you think maybe I should just stop this and go get a job? Did you ever?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the thing that we're all going to come in contact with, especially those that are just in the beginning of their business, is you are going to compare yourself with another person who's further along in the journey that you do. Okay. So I would have never said yes because I was looking at all of the people that had full-time incomes, that had teams of web designers who were charging $15,000, $20,000 for these ginormous websites that were gorgeous, right? But that somebody was better than me, right? I would look at other New Braunfels web designers and realize I'm the worst of these. Why would anyone hire me? It turns out because they wanted to work with me. And that simple, it's very simple. It's not a complicated thing, right? It's hard, but it's not complicated. They want to work with you. But I had the self-limiting belief is why would anyone work with me if other people are better? And what the thing that I was wrong was that I said other people are better. That's not true. We all have an intrinsic value, which we'll talk about, right? We all have this intrinsic value as a person. So nobody's better than me. Their skills may be further along, but I'll get there eventually.
That's good. Ooh.
Yeah, I'll get there eventually.
Write that down. We got Preacher Chachi on today.
Heck yeah.
I love it. So good though, right? I think that, and even Miss Kim in the comments, she's like, this is so me when I'm looking at posts in the group. I have to remind myself that I'm just starting. Yeah. And that's
100%.
It's so true. Like we all, like, none of us came out of the womb knowing Canva or how to design a website or how to, like.
Not yet. No.
We all started somewhere. And so your starting point is, everybody's starting point is at a different point in life, at a different whatever, but just start, right? Yeah. And I love that. I think that you allowing people to see your value just as a person is huge because somebody may have more skill in a certain area. Like that's a fact, right? But like I think that what you guys and everybody, that's joining us here, what you have to bring to the table is so much more than just your skill. Your skill is a factor, 100%. That is part of when someone's hiring you. But I know that like when we're hiring, when we're looking for somebody to join our team or to work on a project, whatever, we look at skill. But we also look at, sometimes it's past experience. Sometimes, most of the time, it's cultural fit and just responsiveness and communication. And sometimes it's like humor, like I feel like there's all these different elements that really make up what's going to make somebody a good fit for a job and, or even for a project. And yeah, so much of it, skill is one factor, but there's so many other factors that you just can't discredit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So good. And as sometimes we think the other way too. Once you start, it's like those self-limiting beliefs, they don't end. They don't end. I can tell you because I've been doing this since, 2015 now, and they don't end. Like I still have them. I still compare myself like up or down. Right. And I think that like once we're like, oh, there's all these people that are better than me. And then once you actually have the skills and you're like, I'm ready to raise your rates, then you're like, well, why would somebody hire me if there's cheaper people? You know, and it's like, it starts all over. Or you're looking at yourself and you're like, oh, well, now I'm here, but now look at the people who are here, you know, and it's so easy to play the comparison game. Do you feel like that's something that you still struggle with, or is that something that like you've worked on and you're like, are there any keys that like that, I mean, definitely looking at your own self-worth, but is there anything else that like that comparison game, any truth that you've found in your journey so far about that?
Any truth to it? So we'll get to this, and we can even jump to this now if you want to, some practical ways of doing that. So as I kind of mentioned in the very beginning of this thing, it's that we're not going to get rid of those right here. And that's an indicator. The self-limiting beliefs are an indicator that we're on the precipice of something good. So if you can switch your mindset to this self-limiting belief is real. Yeah. You can validate it. Not that what the belief is real, but that the fact that you're having the feeling is real. And that's a really important distinction, because these self-limiting beliefs are valid in your emotion and mental health, right? You need to not brush them off. You need to appreciate the fact that you have them, and then you need to move forward, right? And that action of moving forward is what will make the next self-limiting belief that much less impactful. Yeah. You know, so that's probably the truth that I would think is there is a very grain of truth to having those feelings. Yeah.
No, it's so good. Melissa said something with that last week, and like one of the little mantras that she says over and over. And I've said it so many times to myself this week, and it's that I do hard things well. And I'll say this. The reason why I'm saying it is honestly not because I actually deep down think it's true. No. I actually would consider myself a fairly like whatever the opposite of tough-skinned person is. Like I'm fairly sensitive. Like I whatever. I'm like kind of an emotional person. But I'm saying it because I'm like, this is my self-limiting belief is that I don't do hard things well. Yes. Is that I don't have perseverance, is that I give up easy, that that I'm a little flighty. And so how am I going to counteract that is with like, I do hard things well. Like I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to press into it, even when it doesn't feel like truth, until it becomes a truth. Because do I believe that I have the ability to do hard things well? I do. 100%. It's in there. It's just I have to like choose it and put it in front of me. And so I think that putting that in front of you and just practicing it, it's good. All right. So let's talk about some others, because I know that this is not the only self-limiting belief, is that kind of that comparison game. What are some other common self-limiting beliefs? And guys in the comments, I know I absolutely love seeing you guys' interaction and your comments. So whether you're live or joining later on a replay, let me know if you're welcome, or if you feel comfortable like putting maybe what some of the self-limiting beliefs you had or have currently about starting your business or raising your rates or getting out in marketing or XYZ, right? What are some of the things that maybe stop you? Like you start that forward motion and then like what is the thing that like plays over in your brain? And then Chachi and I can talk through maybe some of the most common ones that we've seen.
Yeah. And I think this question can kind of go on our next question. We're going to talk about Enneagram. And those are so relevant. And if you don't know your Enneagram number yet, I would highly recommend, there's a bunch of different tests out there. I would not take one specific test. I would take maybe 3 or 4 tests and then kind of see if there's a common one that you keep landing on, and then sort of read a little bit and kind of see if you can land on your number. But most of the common ones, and probably the most one that I see most often, is that it's a very easy jump when you go from I'm not doing enough, I don't know enough. It's a very easy jump to say I'm not enough. And that's that jump that we're making, right? Those stories that we tell ourselves. If you're a 3, my wife is a 3. right? So she's like, she has to succeed at every single thing she does,
Yeah.
right? And I'm a 9, so I'm like chill. It's like whatever,
Like,
we'll see it,
it's all good.
but threes, but so many other people deal with this. If I didn't get enough done today, if I don't know enough about a specific program, if I'm charging too much or I'm charging too less, or somebody said something, really wrong to me that kind of rubbed me the right way, it can very easily translate into I'm not enough. So it's a really good time to talk about this intrinsic worth, that we have to separate what we do from who we are. Because these self-limiting beliefs can become catastrophic if we start to not only believe them, but to allow them to really dictate who we are in our life.
Yeah.
So that's why this is ground level of starting the business. If anything like that, you're going to learn to build your own website. You're going to learn to how to do this specific program or do all of this. But the first thing we have to really nail down is to keep your own stories in check. And there's a couple of ways to do that, which we'll talk about later. But that's probably the most common one that I see is I'm not enough that I do or don't do.
Yeah, no, man, that's huge. And it's crazy how easy that can translate. And I think a lot of it comes to, we all have kind of like this self-talk, like the things that we just say to ourselves in the back of our mind. And they're just kind of like always there. And I think that one of the best things that you can do is start to like take them from here and put them here. Like, like look at them. And it is scary. It's hard sometimes when sometimes we don't realize like how mean we are to ourselves.
Oh yeah. Like we're the meanest people that we probably know.
Yeah.
Right? Because nobody says the stuff about us that we say about ourselves.
Yeah. And that's where like, we talked 2 weeks ago, we talked to Katie about like, like mean comments from people on YouTube. It's like, if somebody like, I feel like the comments or the things that could hurt on social media or that somebody says to us, the only things that are actually going to hurt me are the things that I've already been telling myself anyways.
Yes.
Right.
I was just about to say that. Is that the reason why those are so hurtful is because it's not new information to you. Yeah. It's a confirmation of what you've already been telling yourself.
Yeah. If somebody was like, if somebody commented on there and was like, this girl, she's got the ugliest nose I've ever seen. I have no insecurities about my nose. So I'd be like, yes, that's dumb. Like it literally wouldn't bother me at all. Like,
thanks for your engagement. Yeah.
No, I'd be like, okay. But if somebody comments about something that I'm insecure about, right? And that's the same, and that can be like, I'm talking about like physical features right now, in a YouTube video, but that's the same thing as if, if a family member is like, what are you doing? Are you wasting your time on this? Da, da, da. Well, it hurts the most when it's something that's like, it's like true in the back of your head. You've already been like, so they're just reinforcing something that you've already been feeling, right? And so the best thing that you can do to face whatever may come your way is to actually pull those things from the back of your brain, put them in front, look at them, decide what truth is around those things. Because then if somebody comes at you with like, oh, you're this or you're that, or this won't work or whatever, which most of the time doesn't even happen, but it could happen, right? If those things do come, then you've kind of already been in the practice of being like, well, no, actually, I know that's not true because I've already worked through this and here's the solution to that, right?
Yes, 100%.
We're so mean to ourselves. Let's see. This is one. Andrea said, with all the technology out there, 47, I feel like I'm too old or a different generation to learn it all. It's a whole new world and language. I swear my 8-year-old knows more than I do. Isn't it crazy? My kids could just go on my phone and they know my password and they're like, and they like find their little game that they like. And I'm like, what, what?
Yes.
Like, I don't understand how you know this, but, and I think that's it's kind of what we were talking about. Like there might be an element of truth to some of the, like, if there wasn't an element of like a tiny element of truth to some of our fears or lies or whatever, then they wouldn't ring so true. So like there may be an element that you don't feel as comfortable with tech. Like that's truth, right? But it's okay. Like do you have the ability to learn, right? Has there been something else that was difficult and you learned how to do it, right? Again, like I think Joe was saying in the comments, like most of the things is that we're comparing ourselves to other people. So it's like, yes, if you compare yourself to other people, you're going to never line up. I mean, there's always going to be somebody who's better at something than you.
Yes.
So
100%.
but if your only competition is yourself, if you're just looking at yourself and like, okay, here's where I'm at, here's where I want to be, and I know there's a gap there, but I've learned that I've closed the gap in other areas of my life, so I can do this too. Like,
Yes.
I think
close the gap. That's really good to close the gap. And I think Katie mentioned that a couple of weeks ago too, when she said, 20-year-old me would have been devastated if somebody said something rude or mean or criticized, but 30-year-old me, it's less of an impact now because she's closed the gap between, how much those actually impact her.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. So let's, because I'm really interested in this. Okay. So, if you guys don't already know, we geek out about Enneagram here. So I apologize if you don't know what the Enneagram is. We'll give you a quick recap. Enneagram, it's a personality quiz. I've geeked out on personality quizzes since like 2009, I think is when I took my first one. It was a Myers-Briggs test, and all of a sudden I was like, personality quizzes, and I just geeked out over them because I was 24 at the time, and I feel like that is like your mid, young mid 20s it's a very defining time. It was like I was at the same time trying to learn who I was and accept who I was. And I feel like I learned who I was, started the acceptance, and then the acceptance is just now like I know who I am. It's just
no change in
an ongoing process of accepting it more and more. And so, but Enneagram was a huge like pivoting point for me because a lot of the personality tests I had taken in the past were very much like here's who you are. It was good for my 20s. It was good for my young 20s because it was like, here's who you are. You need to be proud of these things. Like, here's all this. And then Enneagram does that, but it also like digs it. Like I always say, Enneagram's a jerk. Like it like digs in a little bit. And it's like, here's who you are. And here's how you were created. And here's all the wonderful things. But like, here's the very real realities of like ways that you could improve because we can self-improvement. And I hope that we are all on a journey of some sort of self-improvement. And so that's what Enneagram has been for me. It's a series of 9 numbers. And so you identify as like one number based off of different like thoughts that you have, like kind of intuition type of things where you're like, I naturally do this or think this way or make decisions this way. And so each one of the numbers means something different. So you'll have to look it up. It's called Enneagram if you don't already know what it is. But if you do know your Enneagram number, drop it below in the comments.
That'd be really cool to see.
It's really fun whenever you find out people's Enneagrams and you're like, I know you. I know who you are.
It really does help. I mean, it really does help to know other people, to see how they work, and to know, what their limitations are as far as not how they're limited, but I mean, like how they limit themselves. That's really important to know.
Yeah.
So you can speak to that when you're leading them or working with them. So it's really important. Yeah,
for sure. So yeah, it's Enneagram. It's like, it's right there.
I think it's under me.
Yeah. There you go. Google that.
Yeah. So I see some 9, 2, and 3s.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think we have to start with 1. Ones are the goody two shoes, if you will. Like they thrive on being good, following rules. Like they just want to be good. And so one of their self-limiting beliefs that they start with is, I'm not a good person. And whereas for me, if I said something, I would think, oh man, they don't like me. Or if I said something wrong, nobody likes me, right? Because I want to be in harmony with people. But the ones automatically tell themselves, oh man, I'm corruptible, right? I'm not worthy enough because I'm not good enough. That intrinsic value of being good. So
I feel like it's easy for ones to tie their like performance, similar to 3s a little bit, but to tie their performance to their work, like the perfection of work, not just how hard I'm working, but how well I'm working. Like,
so you go to 1 in stress, right?
Oh yeah. And my team knows that.
Yeah. You go to 1 in stress.
I start to get really like picky and perfectionist and being like, no, it needs to be this way. They're like, you're a little stressed right now, aren't you, Abby? I'm like, I'm sorry.
Your one is showing.
Yeah. Your one is showing. Sorry.
Yeah.
But there's so many good quality, and that's a good thing too. And we can't dive deep into each of these numbers, but we're going to talk about like the self-limiting beliefs in each one of these numbers. But guys, it's like there are really good things about these numbers. So I feel like we're doing kind of the Enneagram thing is where we're going to pick on each one of them. But no, like there's so much value. There's so much value that each one of these brings too. So
yeah. And before we get to 2, the reason why I love Enneagram specifically for this topic is because the Enneagram will give you the knowledge and the wisdom that you need to make the step forward. Mm-hmm. So if you know that this self-limiting belief is a part of this number, then you tell yourself the exact opposite, right? And it'll help you move forward and take that next step out of that self-limiting belief. So it doesn't become self-sabotaging and of course obstruction of what could be. So twos are the helpers. One of my best friends is a 2, and she is the best friend, like the actual bestest friend. She's just a good friend. You know what I mean? Like you have those good friends in your life that are like, man, what would I do without you? That's her. Her name's Tony. So she's a 2. Self-limiting belief is I'm not, nobody wants me. Nobody needs my help because they tie their worth to the amount of people that they can help. Right. So no one wants to be my friend. No one needs my help. Therefore, I am worthless when most of the time people want help, but most of the time we can't bring ourselves to ask for it.
Most people don't even know how to receive help. Like there's other people in my life like that where my husband and I, so Rob, my husband, we go back and forth whether he's a 2 or a 3. Like I'm like, you're 3. Nope, you're 2. Nope, you're 3. Like we can't figure it out. Like he's like a perfect mesh of the 2. But so often he's a 2, and we've had to with him like establish a rule that it's like, I'm going to ask somebody for if they want help one time. They're going to say no. I can say, "Are you sure?"
Yes. Follow up. Good.
And then after that, if they say no twice, then we have to let it go. And it is so hard. It's like so hard for him because it's just like let me help you, let me love you. And it's that it can be really, really difficult when you know the help that somebody needs, you know the love or the assistance or whatever that somebody needs, and they won't like let you give that to them. I know that can be really difficult for a 2 as well. For sure. Yeah.
So threes. Again, Emily is a 3, and I've had the first row seat to the negative self-talk that she tells herself. And
they're like the achievers, right? They're the
yes, they achieve and they work harder than anybody else. They're going to succeed. They're going to be better than you, right? So they're highly competitive. So for her, it quickly turns into I am not enough. I am worthless. Because their worth is tied to what they do. So if you're a 3 at the very start of your business, you're going to have a very difficult time with the ebbs and flows of what that is, of what, what entrepreneurship is. There's no getting, unless you've created a multi-million-dollar business, but I don't think you can say that it was a multi-million-dollar when you started. There's ebbs and flows.
A lot of ups and downs, a lot of downs.
and 3s really have a struggle with that because they feel like it's a result of their actions, when sometimes you do all the right things.
Yeah.
And you just hit you hit a down.
And if you fail, it's not tied to your worth.
No.
Yeah. So it sounds like one's it's like how well I do the work. Twos, it's like how much I'm like able to give and love and self-sacrifice sometimes in the work. And 3s, it's kind of how much I'm able to like achieve in the work. So like, okay.
Yeah, that's really good. 4s are the unique souls, very sensitive, they feel a lot. So there's so many things with 4s. I think I just wrote down I'm insignificant. They feel so, if nobody sees the uniqueness of what they bring, it very easily, how 3s go to I am worthless, 4s go to I am insignificant. I don't matter. There's nothing that I can give to somebody else.
Right.
And that's very catastrophic.
So unique that if like people don't recognize their uniqueness, that can be really difficult and probably a limiting belief, which is hard because I feel like 4s are a lot of times probably they're like kind of the misunderstood people. And it's like, but if you really knew me, then you wouldn't think these things about me. So yeah, I could see that being difficult.
Yeah, and all these self-limited beliefs just stop you in your tracks. To move forward.
Someone asked us what these numbers are. So we're talking about the Enneagram right now. So we've got by Enneagram type. It's a personality quiz. And so we're going through each one of the numbers. So we've gone through 1 through 4. There's 9 numbers total. And we're just talking about self-limiting beliefs with each one of these numbers. You can take the personality quiz online. And a bunch of you guys have already taken it and have been telling us your Enneagram numbers in the comments. So, all right, super cool. What do we got? So number 5. I love my number 5s in my life.
Yeah, 5s are super wise. So I think I'm a 99% 9, and my second number is like a 95% 5. So the 5s are the wise ones that really, they're the friends that you sit down with on the deck and you talk about life, and then you get out of the conversation with them and you're like, wow, like that was the most helpful conversation I've ever had. Right. So those 5s are, they say that I'm incapable, right? Because they pride themselves on, at least I know that I do. I pride myself on being competent, about being smart,
knowledgeable. Yeah.
Knowledgeable.
Like, the 5s I know are very much like researchers. Let me figure it out. Let me dig in and just get the thing. So I could imagine if you can't figure something out, that would be
dumb. I feel dumb.
Yeah. That would be kind of a self-limiting belief that like, if I didn't figure this out, then that must mean that I am dumb, am not smart enough. Yeah. I could see that being very difficult.
So 6s, I'm not even sure that we can nail down just one, because they have the inner committee in their head. Yeah. Constantly telling them negative self-limiting beliefs about themselves. Anything from, fear itself, anxiety. 6s are big in that, because they think about all the different things that could possibly go wrong in their business. They think about all the different things that people are going to tell them, all the different things they don't know. And so before they even get started, they're already shaking in their boots. Now, 6s are also the planners. They're going to get you to where you need to go because of all of these things that they've already thought about.
The cautionary people, which is like actually incredibly helpful. And
super helpful.
Things like they're so, like I said earlier, there's so much value to each one of these, that when you look at like, okay, these are the common self-limiting beliefs, but man, like on the flip side, like, yes, you have a lot of things probably limited. If you're a 6, you have a lot of things going through your mind of like, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? What if this happens? What if that happens? And just like negative self-talk. But like the fact that you are a cautious person, and the fact that you are going to make decisions because they were well thought out, with all of the things that could happen or could not happen, like that definitely can be to your benefit if you allow yourself to not let those things completely hold you back. It's going to make you cautious. It's going to make you make good decisions because you actually think through your decisions.
Yeah, 100%. I go to in stress, I go to the unhealthy parts of 6. And so I think you and I had a conversation where I was just telling myself some things, and I was like, hey, I'm telling myself some stories here, and I need you to tell me truths. So we'll get into more about practical ways, but I go to the unhealthy parts of 6, and there's a lot of stories that I love to tell myself. Me and my wife, she says, okay, who's writing this story? When I tell her something that I'm thinking, she's like, okay, who's writing that story? And I'm like, okay, Chachi Diaz is writing that story. I'm not a good creative writer. I should probably stop. So that's one way to just kind of turn that pace. Yeah, she's good. She's awesome. She knows the Enneagram well enough to help me out too. Where are we at? Sevens. I'm going to have you talk about sevens because you're the sevenest seven I've ever seen other than Katie Day. So you talk about sevens.
Oh man. Okay, so you put me on the spot. You didn't write one down?
I did write one down.
So Katie, help me out in the comments. What do we believe that's self-limiting? So this is, it's actually funny because as a 7, I'll be really honest, like I am, I feel like a lot of times, and don't get mad at me, people, don't get mad, but I feel like I don't have a lot of self-limiting beliefs, which isn't true. I do. They're just so buried back deep inside because 7s tend to, like, we're just like, let's go on that trip. Let's jump off that hill. Or that roof in my case. Let's do the thing, like adventure, forward. And like pain or like things that limit me, I don't want to think about those. Like, let's just push those back here. Let's not. So we don't actually like look at them face forward and like face them. Right. So, I'm trying to think through. I mean, most of my self-limiting beliefs honestly have to do with other people. I know that I have a persona that I like want people to think of me about, like I want to be the fun one and the chill one and one that's well liked and the one that's whatever. And so anytime somebody thinks something other than that, then I don't like it. I fear that I shouldn't start something because I'm just going to give it up anyways. Like that I don't have enough patience or endurance or whatever. Like, no, I just can't. Like, yeah. I'm going to stop. So why even try? Like, I don't want to have to endure that pain in the future. So why even like try it now?
That's exactly what Katie said. If it might be painful, maybe better not.
Yeah. Better not. Like, let's just stay on the things that I know are going to make me happy and all the things. So yeah, that's a 7.
And that's what I wrote down. I'm going to get unhappy. So they just don't start. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. This is like a little unrelated, but
you saved another child.
I didn't save another child. Okay. This was so good for me. So as this is kind of off topic, but I thought it was really funny, so I was going to share it. As a 7, I really loved it when I lived in Florida because it was happy, sunshine, rainbows all the time, except when there were hurricanes. That wasn't fun, but you just leave, right? You run away from your problems. It's perfect. Yeah. So now I live in a place with snow and I hate the snow. Like I absolutely hate the snow. Same. And so my friend sent me this the other day. It says, if you choose not to find joy, this is so dumb. This sounds like it's like a fancy quote, but it's not. If you choose not to find joy in the snow, you will have less joy in your life, but still the same amount of snow. I'm like, that's not revolutionary.
Yeah. And that is way too soon to be talking about joy.
Yeah, especially for Texas.
Yeah, way too soon.
But it's so true. And like that is literally, I think, part of a 7 self-limiting belief is that like, I can just run away from this thing. But the reality is sometimes you can't. You'll just hate your life more and you'll still have the thing in your life that you wanted to run away from in the first place. So
true that. Yeah. So we spent a lot of time on 7s. Shocker. They want to talk about themselves all the time. So let's talk about 8s. 8s. So I have a really complicated relationship with 8s. They scare me because I'm a 9 and I don't like conflict. But 8s are really powerful. They're protectors. They can be your best friend, or they can be your worst nightmares, kind of if they're in an unhealthy place. So 8s, if their self-limiting belief is I'm weak, I can't do it because I'm a weak person. I want to be strong. They want to be strength and exude strength and be the protectors for everybody. But sometimes they just think to themselves, I'm weak. So those are 8s.
Yeah. 8s are so cool. They're like the challengers, right? They're the ones that are like, so if it's cool because again, those self-limiting beliefs, if you're an 8, you can actually put it in front of your brain and then see it as like a challenge that you have to conquer and get over. Like, I feel like that's going to be one of the things that would really help an 8 because they're like, I will not let you get me down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a 9, that's just scary. That's just a scary thing.
You're like, no,
It's like, God, you're way too intense for me. So I'm a 9. 9s, we have a lot. But one of the things that if something is going to bring my life out of harmony, then I'm not gonna start it. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing. But those, again, we can make those jumps really quickly. So for me, if something is going to be uncomfortable to me, or something is going to be it's going to mess up things that are really, really good in my life, then I'm not going to start them. And but I also have a little bit of maybe not 7, but I also have a little bit of perfectionism in me too. And I go to 6 when I go to stress. So I have a lot of, usually that's kind of the way it goes, 6, 3, and 9. So in an unhealthy me, I'll have a lot of self-limiting beliefs because I have a lot of inner critics coming with me. But 9s are probably the best of all the numbers. Not really. We did have a couple 9s.
Here's the bad thing. I want to argue with you, but it's probably not true. I've never met a 9 in my life I didn't like. I'm like, man,
we value peace. It's all about peace, and we're almost like 3s in that we can kind of talk to anybody, and we can mold with anybody, and 9s are always good to have on a team. And if you have a group of friends, make sure that you always have a 9 when you go out, to the bars, or when you go out to restaurants, or, the 9s are going to be your glue that's going to keep maybe 2 separate friend groups together. That 9 is going to be the one that's going to bring along a 9 and a 7, and you'll be fine for the rest of the night. Like, you're going to have a fantastic time if you have a 9 and a 7 with you. That's a pro tip.
Pro tip.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so let's so we talked about kind of some of the, let's end with this. Let's get really practical. So we talked about some of the different challenges that you may have in these different spheres. If you guys haven't taken Enneagram, I encourage you to go take it and then come back and rewatch that section that we just went over. It'll make a whole lot more sense to you.
Yeah.
But it's so cool too, because I do think that not only learning your own kind of number and what you guys go through is learning the other numbers is really cool too, because then you can help other people and encourage them in their journey as well, which is what we're all here for, right? So let's just talk about some of those practical ways that you can overcome self-limiting beliefs. So whatever resonated with you, and I'd love to hear in the comments from you guys, like, what did resonate out of each one of those. Maybe you don't even know your Enneagram number, but one of the things that we said, you were like, yep, that was me. So what resonated with you? And then let's talk through some of the ways that you can actually move past some of these things that hold you back.
Yeah. And I don't want to get like super woo-woo here, because I do want to make it practical, but there's a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure if Elise talked about it last week, but a couple of weeks ago, Katie talked about gratitude journaling. And gratitude journaling is a form of meditation. And so meditation, I'm not talking about sitting crisscross applesauce with your hands up like this. That is meditation, but that's like actual Buddhist meditation. We're not talking about that specific, but meditation doesn't have, it doesn't belong to any one religious tradition. Even if you don't follow any sort of religious tradition, it can be standalone in and of itself. And so just a really powerful thing when you start to learn about meditation, one of the tenets of that is that you, when you start out and when you start to learn it, whoever's teaching you, whether it's a book or whatever, they'll start with maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And you would just close your eyes for 1 or 2 minutes, and then they will tell you to clear your mind, right? And nobody expects you to do that at the beginning. And then they'll tell you, when you have a thought, hear the thought, appreciate the thought, and let the thought go. And that is the essence of meditation, to where you have the thought, you see the thought, but it doesn't rule your mind. You just let it go. And then you come back to where you are. And the more and more that you meditate, you start to hone in on this muscle, this skill of having a thought, seeing the thought, and letting the thought go. And the reason why it's so powerful with self-limiting beliefs is because there's going to become a moment when you're going to have to, whether it's buying the course or whether it's starting your business or whatever that may be, you're going to have that moment where you're about to click, or you're about to say yes to this job that you just accepted, whatever it may be. And you're going to have, oh crap, and whatever your self-limited belief is, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not qualified, I'm incapable, I'm insignificant, whatever it may be, you're going to have that thought. You're going to appreciate that thought. And then you're going to let that thought go. And then you're going to say yes to move forward. But you can only do that if you practice that on a daily basis. Gratitude journaling is a great way to do that, because you get rid of all of these negative things that you want for, and you appreciate the things that you have. That's a form of it. But just a very simple 1-2 meditation of allowing you to feel whatever you're feeling, and then just let that thought go. So not to get too woo-woo, but that's I had to mention that, because that's just really just a very simple thing that we can do. One of the other things is to surround yourself with people who are positive. Okay. You can tell yourself all of the great and positive things in the world, but if you do not have a community around you that are constantly confirming that with you and for you, it's going to be incredibly difficult. And you're going to continue to have these super impactful self-limiting beliefs, which is what we don't want. And for some of us, that may mean simply telling your friends, hey, can we be more positive? Like, let's not have a pity party every time we get together. Or it could be, I had to tell my friends during this past year, it was just a really crazy time for me in this past year. I just said, hey, I need to limit the voices in my life right now. I love you guys. You're not necessarily negative to me. I just need to limit the voices that I have in my life. So maybe that's what you need to do. You need to say, hey, I love you. I'm going to take a break right now. Yeah. Not specifically from you. I just need to take a break. Yeah. And to just recenter yourself. And that can be super hard for most of us. But I think that can probably make the biggest impact for a lot of us. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like, those are probably the two, I feel like those are the two most important things, and they really do build upon each other. One is like bringing that thought to the forefront. So whether that's through a meditation or a journal or just an honest conversation with somebody, sometimes I don't realize, like, I have an 8 in my life that talks very candidly to me, and I love her. And so she'll be like, oh, how's this going? I'm like, oh, good. But I don't know this. And she's like, you literally just told me that you don't think you're good enough. You don't think that you're going to succeed at this. And I was like, oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes whether it's you or somebody, get that 8 in your life that will put that right in front of you, and can be that mirror for you. But yeah, like put it in front of you, like actually look at it.
Yep.
Because the more that we're just like, you pretend that it's not there or you ignore it, like it's gonna grow, right? Yep. Like, so it's
gonna fester.
It is. And it will grow the more that you don't pay attention to it. It's like a weed, right? Yeah. And so you have to, you can't just ignore it. You actually have to look at it and do something about it.
Yeah. It's a valid thought. It's the self-indicator that you're onto something great. It's valid.
Yeah.
It just can't dictate.
Exactly. And then you have to, and then people will magnify whatever that thing, whatever you really feel about yourself. Right. Yeah. And so people will, if that's what you really feel, people will magnify that. If you actually face that with truth and you say, okay, here's what I feel, but here's the different beliefs or truths upon that self-limiting belief. And then at the same time, you get people to water that thought, right? Yeah. Then it will grow. And so it is definitely, it's like amazing how much like the parallel to like gardening, like you ignore the weeds, fester, but you have to actively grow the positive things. Like you can't ignore the positive things because they won't grow. You literally have to actively like grow the positive and actively like weed out the negative, or it'll just control you and overrun your garden. I've never gardened a day in my life.
I've tried, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. We went with fake plants, and those grow just fine.
I had my husband bought me a thing that like self-watered the plants, and it had a little light, and it would come on a certain amount of hours a day and all this. I killed those. It was like a foolproof system, and I still managed to kill those somehow.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to the best of us, I think. I'm not a green thumb either. I like to be, but I don't do very well. One of the other things that has been super impactful to me, and it's really just changed really, it changed the game for me. And it can be, I guess, as expensive or inexpensive as you want, but it's to hire a coach. Therapy also is something, obviously, that is not just for broken people. Therapy is for healthy people too. I went the route of coaching. Just for those who don't know, TBS provides leadership coaching for senior leaders, and that for me was incredibly impactful, because it's somebody that is asking you questions about your own self-limiting beliefs. And there's been so many times when I ask a question, and Becky, who's our coach, says, ask me the exact same question, but just ask it to me. And it's somebody else saying exactly what I just said. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not true. Like, that's a not true thing that I just said to myself. But to me, it was so real. It was so true until somebody else said it. So that's a really important thing. And coaching helped me so much that I hired another coach. So like I have a life coach, leadership coach, and then I have like a health coach, because there was also self-limiting beliefs around health and fitness that was important to me. And then we hired Becky for Emily. Like, there's so much truth to coaching that can help you. And that's maybe a little bit more invasive, a little bit more expensive, but it also has a tremendous impact on just your everyday life.
Agreed. No, that's been, I mean, I feel like I've taken more strides in my business when I've gotten more just like life coaching, there's Enneagram coaches out there. I talk to an Enneagram coach weekly, and she's awesome.
And the two, like I said, the two go hand in hand. Like, if you can get an Enneagram coach, they're going to dig at who you are, but they're going to give you the tools to really move past all of these things that you think you are, but you're not. So for
sure. So good. So good. Well, guys, this has been really fun. I hope that you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Geeking out over Enneagram is always fun.
Always a good time.
It is. But I think that if we don't start to really look at some of these things, and it takes time, like it takes intentionality. You have to set aside the time to actually go through it, to actually put those things in the forefront, to actually talk to a friend or a coach or somebody. Like, it takes intentionality, but it is so worth it. So if anything, I hope that you guys walk away with the with an idea of what your next step is. Like, is it that I want to take that Enneagram test, right? Is it that I want to maybe hire an Enneagram coach? Is it that like I need to talk to a friend or get more positive people in my life and maybe weed out some of the people that are feeding negativity? Like, and go ahead and put in the comments if you have some ideas that are spinning in your head. But I want you to walk away with an action step, right? Because we've got 72, 73 people still on here watching us. And if you guys literally go and just take what we listened to today and actually take action on it, it has the ability to change your life. It really, really does. Because like we talked about earlier, what is the potential of you not doing that thing that's in front of you? And that could be anything, right? That could be starting your business, or starting to market, or, going on a health journey, or a personality, like whatever it is. Like, what's at stake if you don't? And I think when your business becomes bigger, then it can really help move you forward. So that's all we have for today. But thank you guys so much. I hope that you enjoyed this, and let me know, like email our team afterwards and let us know kind of what happened, what shift happened, or what action you took, because we would love to celebrate that with you.
We'd love to hear that.
Awesome. All right. Well, have an awesome rest of the day. Happy birthday, Chachi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Birthday Prince, please.
Birthday Prince. All right. Awesome. Well, have an awesome day. Bye, guys.
Bye, friends.